Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to tear apart and put back together this LS engine. Now for those of you who are new to this series, thanks for stopping by. This is a 2003 LM7 5.3.
Why yes, I am sitting next to the hood of the Jaguar and in the Jaguar's front seat. As I was editing this video, I noticed that it got to be an hour long. And I thought to myself, that's not productive for anyone to watch. I should try to consolidate this. The most useful thing for me to talk about is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because somebody might find this and wonder why I did what I did, because they might want to do the same thing I'm doing. I've got hours of footage of me taking apart this engine and putting it back together. I'm not going to focus on that because there's way better content out there that shows how to do all of that. What I'm going to focus on is what I'm doing and why, which is putting a 5.3 liter LM7 engine in a Jaguar XJS. To understand why I'm doing that, you have to go back to the beginning. My neighbor had this car sitting in his front yard. And after a year of looking at it, I finally asked him, like, hey, what you doing with that? And he said to me, if you get that car off my lawn, it's yours. And I was like, but you know, free car is never a free car. The reason I did it is, at the same time, my colleague was trying to get rid of his 2003 GMC Yukon XL, which has a 5.3 liter LS-based engine. Everyone knows about LS swaps and why they're great and why people do them. And I thought to myself, I have two cars that are very affordable, that are like in arm's reach of me. And given what I did to my Volvo, given the experience I have and what I know how to do, I have to do this. I cannot pass up this opportunity. This is what I want to do with my time and my life, frankly. I bought my buddy's Yukon for $800. I got this thing off of my neighbor's lawn, and here we are. So, that is why I'm putting the 5.3 liter LM7 LS engine in the Jaguar. So now we have to talk about the LM7 and what's wrong with it and why it won't work in the Jaguar as is. The LM7 is a truck engine, which means it has truck accessories. Most notably a truck intake, a truck oil pan, and truck accessory brackets, which position the alternator, power steering pump, AC compressor in specific places. The intake on an LM7 engine is too tall. If you put that engine in the Jaguar, the hood won't close because the intake is too tall. So what do you have to do? You have to find an LS1 or LS6 intake. Or you can go aftermarket and find one that is short enough to fit under the hood. I ended up choosing an LS6 intake because it seemed to have the best performance characteristics for how much it costs. Next thing is oil pan. The truck oil pan is not going to clear the Jaguar's crossmember. It's also going to stick down way too far even if it did clear the crossmember. So you need to get an aftermarket oil pan or mess around with a Camaro oil pan and make that work. And then the accessory drive on the truck positions the alternator way up here. It's too high, so the alternator needs to sit lower. And to do that, you get Corvette or Camaro accessory brackets. And that way, the alternator is going to sit lower. So, to solve all of these things, what I did was I found a guy who was selling an LS6 intake locally, got to talking to him, and it turns out he had an entire accessory drive for an F-body Camaro for sale as well. He had the water pump, the AC compressor, the power steering pump, the alternator, and the harmonic balancer. But most notably, he had the brackets that I need to mount these things where they need to be. Then for oil pan, there's an aftermarket oil pan that you can buy that will work with the Jaguar crossmember, and it doesn't need any modification. So that's how you get the 5.3 liter truck engine to fit in the Jaguar. However, this engine had 200,000 miles on it, and it also had a truck cam. So what I did in like almost all of this video is I got this engine ready for going in a new car, essentially. So when an engine's on a stand, you can do everything. You can do every single gasket, you can do head gaskets, you can take apart the heads and clean them. But I also wanted to do some performance upgrades on the engine while I had the opportunity while it was out. Based on my research, the #1 performance thing you can do to an LS-based engine is a camshaft. The camshaft that came in my engine, the truck engine, was, well, for trucks. It had characteristics that gave the engine excellent low-end torque, so that when you're towing something, there's power down low and the truck is able to tow stuff or move a heavy load. However, in this thing, we're not going to be towing heavy loads or loading up the car with cargo that weighs more than, 300 pounds or whatever. That's just not going to happen. So, when you have a cam that has great low-end torque, it sacrifices a little bit of top-end power, like in the high RPM range. After a lot of research, I found that the LS6 camshaft by General Motors seems to fit the profile of what I'm going to want out of this vehicle. Now when you upgrade to the LS6 camshaft, you need to upgrade your valve springs, because the LS6 camshaft has a higher lift than the truck camshaft, which means the valve spring is going to be compressing more with the LS6 camshaft. So that means you need a higher spring rate spring so that it can keep up at the high RPMs with this added lift. So you need to get rid of your truck springs and put in LS6 springs. I used General Motors LS6 springs and I think they're going to be just fine. And then the General Motors service manual says that when you change a camshaft, you need to change your lifters. So I bought some LS7 style lifters from Summit Racing. They look about the same as the stock lifters. There's nothing wrong with my stock lifters, but if the GM service manual says to change your lifters when you change your camshaft, you should probably do that. So in a nutshell, that's basically what I did. I think this engine's going to be awesome with a tune on it, and it's going to be an excellent fit for the car. So with that, I'll thank you so much for watching right here from this Jaguar seat. As I sit here, I imagine myself actually driving the car. It's a pretty comfy seat. Really looking forward to this being out of the room, this being out of the room, those being out of the room, and just being able to enjoy my car when it's done. To the subscribers that are for some reason still watching this, first, thank you. I know most of you are here for the stereo content. The video after this one is going to be me pushing the Jaguar into the garage after I get the engine and transmission in it, because here in Pennsylvania, winters are cold, and when you don't have a heated garage, it's miserable working on cars. So this is getting put on hold until it's bearable to be in the garage again, or until I find a way to make a heater work. And what that means for you is there'll be stereo content once again. So yeah, again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Well, this is going absolutely horribly. Time to look up YouTube videos on how to remove an LS crank bolt. So YouTube says this is the answer. And then this. So let's try it out. I think it's a good thing we're changing this, because that just doesn't seem right to me. Yeah, to my surprise, I thought these valve covers were black, and then I cleaned this one, and it's actually silver. So that's how much crud is caked onto these valve covers. It's kind of incredible. dead center on cylinder 1, you want that dot right there, and that thing right there to line up. That means your camshaft and crankshaft are in time with one another. Pretty mint, if I do say so myself. Love seeing that oil filter there. It means it's like, you know, close.